Right, UFC 300, Jamahal Hill versus Alex Pereira. I can't believe the amount of confidence I'm seeing in Alex Pereira getting a KO over Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill's never actually been knocked out before, and I can't just base it off that because we know Alex Pereira is a very powerful striker. But one thing I'll say about Alex Pereira, which will benefit Jamahal Hill, is the over-aggressiveness. Pereira's a guy who will fight off confidence. For example, when the leg kicks are working and he's got a guy pressuring him, for example, a guy like Jiri Prochazka, he will catch you with one shot, the left hook, and then he'll start following up with loads of other combinations. And in the past against guys like Israel Adesanya, what's happened? You're throwing too many combinations at once in like a stiff way, but because he's good at like throwing and rolling with his punches, he's able to catch people and put them out cold. But let's just remember, Jamahal Hill is no Jiri Prochazka. He doesn't fight like a high risk, high reward type of fight where I'm going to start jumping, level changing, I'm going to leave my chin sticking out so you can just pop me in the chin like Pereira did to Jiri Prochazka. No, he doesn't do that. I actually believe in this fight here, we are going to see some grappling from Jamahal Hill. We did see a bit of it in the fight with Glover Teixeira. And remember, there was a lot of people who were saying Glover Teixeira would have ran through him with the takedowns and grappling. And that's probably why we saw him fight on the back foot during that fight. But in a fight with Alex Pereira, I cannot see him constantly going backwards. I think he'll be more confident because when he comes up against strikers, with power or not with power, he will press them and go forward. The only times we haven't seen him, Thiago Santos at times, but he got a bit tired and he was able to capitalise on that moment. And I believe against Alex Pereira, not just the overconfidence of throwing in the pocket, it's his chin which is a bit suspect as well. Like, you're in the heavier weight classes. You have got an extremely good leg kick on you. And Jamahal Hill, from what I've seen, doesn't really check them. And that's the only thing I would be worried about with Jamahal Hill and Alex Pereira. Not just the boxing, because with Alex Pereira, Jamahal Hill's got more of a narrow stance walking you down at times. It's not really like heavy, and it's not like very fluid. He hasn't got like really good footwork. So that leg kick will be easily be able to like kick him and drop him to the ground with like a leg kick. And that's like one way I see him finishing by like a KO or something, is if it's by like leg kicks. I can't see Alex Pereira knocking him out through boxing because one, Jamahal Hill is going to close the distance, but he's not going to rush in with his chin wide open like Jiri Prochazka. He will come in quite tight, but he will lead off his backhand. And by doing that, it's going to be harder for Alex Pereira to throw off that hand and catch him because his jab will be by his chin, and because he's leading off that cross, that left hand's going to be protected to defend against the left hook. And I think that will be a problem for Alex Pereira because although I believe he's a way better striker technically than Alex Pereira, we're at light heavyweight. Jamahal Hill is overweight. He hits hard. Even though he's been out for a very long time, we've seen the vulnerabilities in Alex Pereira's game in terms of his chin, and that's not something you can really control. Like training your neck, okay, go ahead and try it. It's not always going to work. Look at people like Mike Tyson, trained his neck. Near the end of his career, he was getting TKO'd. Anthony Joshua, he's been dropped quite a few times. He trains his neck. Gilbert Burns trains his neck. A bit of a chinny type of guy as well. And I believe Alex Pereira is also one of them guys who's a bit chinny, but his offense is so good and fighters struggle to close the distance and do anything with him, which is why they can't win. But Jamahal Hill offers something different. No one has finished Jamahal Hill. And the reason they can't finish Jamahal Hill, not just because of his chin, but his ability to roll with the punches. And against Alex Pereira, that is what you need, because Alex Pereira is kind of like, you saw Sean Strickland mugging him off, remember that one time, saying, oh, how's this guy going to beat me? And he starts like arching his back on the media day and start punching like that, like mocking him. But it works. And I think against Jamahal Hill, that's going to be hard to do if you're not going to use only leg kicks, because if you arch back with your hands like that, if you get backed up against the cage, which I believe he will against a guy like Jamahal Hill at times, because Jamahal Hill has to go forward in this fight. You can't be on the back foot and try and counter strike with Pereira. You do that, he's going to find that left hook. And you might argue that if he pressures him, he'll catch him with the left hook. But the reason I said he will struggle to do that is because he'll be leading off that right hand, keeping that left hand high. And we know Alex Pereira can adapt and change stance and maybe switch to the other stance to try and land that hook around the hand where he's trying to throw off the rear hand. But Jamahal Hill doesn't really engage in the clinch, but he fights in like a position right near the clinch, like right in the pocket. And Pereira, he doesn't look to fight in the pocket unless his opponent forces him to go into the pocket. So Alex Pereira gets his back up against the cage. This is where I think Jamahal Hill's going to start taking him down or looking for takedowns. Like, he will probably struggle, and you'll see Alex Pereira do what he does in every fight, where he kind of like jumps onto like a guillotine. Not jumps, but he like holds onto a guillotine, and Jamahal Hill will have to be wary of that, because I think he knows if you can get Alex Pereira down, it's a very winnable matchup. For example, Ankalaev, in my opinion, would beat both of these guys just because of his grappling, unless he goes the Curtis Blades route and thinks, let me just strike with this guy and try and knock him out. Like what he did against Johnny Walker. I was a bit surprised he didn't look for a takedown, because Johnny Walker's a hard hitter. Even though he's a chinny guy, if he catches you, you're in trouble. And if he leg kicks you, you're in trouble, a bit like Pereira. That's why I can see why people would say that Alex Pereira has got a good chance of beating a guy like Ankalaev, because you don't check leg kicks, you don't know how to defend them. It's quite weird coming off a kickboxer as well. And I'm talking about Ankalaev, how you can't defend them when you actually are a kickboxer. But that being said, that doesn't change the fact that I think Jamahal Hill can mix up all of this. He won't submit Alex Pereira, and Pereira won't submit Hill, but he will look for them guillotines as he shoots in near the cage. And also, another thing, you'll notice with Alex Pereira, when he knocks people out, they tend to get up after him. Now, I'm not trying to be like Jeremy Stevens, whereas with Jamahal Hill, when he knocks someone out, or like TKOs them, they do not get up straight away. And it just shows you, Jamahal Hill, I know Yuri Prohaska's got a lot of power as well, but he can't defend himself. He's got no defense. Jamahal Hill does. Look at that one flurry he had with Glover Teixeira, where he was like moving his head in the corner, and his head movement at times, it looks really, as some people say, goofy or whatever that word or phrase is, because it just doesn't look like how you should, but it works. A bit like Beneil Dariush. I'm not comparing the two. They've both got like unconventional methods at doing things that just work. Like, well, Jamahal Hill was moving his head against Glover Teixeira. No boxing coach would tell you to move your head like that. He was kind of like blocking punches with his arms like he's Sean Strickland. And Alex Pereira, if he lands that left hook onto Jamahal Hill, I'll say it right here, yes, he can knock him out. But I don't think he would win this fight by knockout. I think if Alex Pereira is going to beat Jamahal Hill, he was going to have to beat him to a decision. And I can see it being a competitive one, because both of them have very good cardio. And this is if Alex Pereira does it. I do think Jamahal Hill is going to go out there and look to finish him. Not in the first round, because Pereira's a guy, you can't finish him in the first round, because he's not... You kind of want to figure out what Pereira's doing. You don't want to rush in against him. You rush in against him, you get knocked out. You walk him down earlier on and you try and like mess about with him, you get knocked out. I think Jamahal Hill will be a bit patient in the first round. And then it's when you're getting into that second round where the fight starts to open up a bit more. And then in the third round, when you get to that point, both of them have still got relatively good cardio for light heavyweights. Even though you might think Jamahal Hill doesn't, he actually does. He's very good at pushing through when it's getting a bit tiring. And that is when I can see Jamahal Hill starting to like catch Alex Pereira. Because Alex Pereira, he will become a bit more confident, because I think he should win these early rounds like he did in the Adesanya fight. He's doing well in the first round. For example, in the second fight of Adesanya, I'm talking about the one in the UFC 287, he was doing well in the first 2 rounds, but then he's growing in confidence. He starts pressuring more and more, getting more overzealous with combinations, and then bang, out cold. And I can see Jamahal Hill doing something very similar. So I'm looking forward to this fight, even though it's an underwhelming card. And I do think that, unfortunately for people who like Alex Pereira, Jamahal Hill is being massively underlooked here. Even though he's overweight, he's out of shape. But by the time they get into a fight, he will be in shape. I know April's not that far away, and ring rust will be a thing for Jamahal Hill. But he was recovering from like an ankle injury. Like, what was it called? On your Achilles tendon that will affect your footwork. And one logic you could use behind that is, if he's had an injury to that, Alex Pereira could look to target that heel by throwing a lot of leg kicks to that, and it could like cause some wear and tear. Even though it's recovered, some injuries that you get that can take you out for a long time can easily come back. No matter how much physiotherapy you do, they can be reactivated by like a guy like Alex Pereira booting you in your ankle like that. But honestly, in my opinion, I think Jamahal Hill's going to fight in the pocket, not in the first round, but in the second round. He's going to get closer in the pocket and make it hard for Alex Pereira to do that, and then make him fight in the pocket. And that is where you're going to see Jamahal Hill try and roll off the punches and start to find the chin. And when he catches him on the chin, then Alex Pereira will be panicking, because Jamahal Hill's a guy, when he hits you, it hurts really bad. Like, Jamahal Hill can take a punch way better than a guy like Alex Pereira. So that's all I've got to say, really. I want to talk about some tier lists tomorrow, about some luckiest fight. I'll go into it tomorrow. But anyways, yeah. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.